Marcus wiped the sweat from his forehead as he watched his 5-year-old son Tommy struggle with his shoelaces on the park bench. The morning sun was already getting hot, and they were running late for Tommy's soccer practice again. Being a single father was harder than Marcus had ever imagined when his wife Sarah left them 2 years ago. "Daddy, I can't do it," Tommy said, his small voice filled with frustration as he held up his tangled shoelaces. Marcus knelt down beside his son, his heart breaking a little more each day as he watched Tommy try to navigate a world without his mother. Sarah had walked out on them when Tommy was just 3, leaving nothing but a note saying she wasn't ready to be a mother and needed to find herself. Marcus had been juggling his job as a construction foreman and raising Tommy ever since, and some days it felt impossible. "Here, buddy, let me help you," Marcus said gently, taking the tiny sneakers in his rough, calloused hands. As he tied the laces, he noticed Tommy watching the other kids at the park with their mothers, his eyes filled with a longing that no child should have to feel. The soccer field was buzzing with activity when they arrived. Parents lined the sidelines, with folding chairs and coolers, most of them mothers who seemed to have everything perfectly organized. Marcus felt out of place among them with his work boots and faded jeans, holding a water bottle he had hastily filled from the kitchen tap. Tommy ran onto the field with the other kids, but Marcus could see he was more reserved than usual. During practice, when the coach asked the kids to pair up, Tommy was always the last one chosen. It wasn't that the other children didn't like him, but many of them had been playing together since they were toddlers, their mothers arranging playdates and building friendships that Marcus simply didn't have time to foster. "Is that Tommy's dad?" Marcus heard one of the mothers whisper to another. "I heard his wife left him. That poor little boy." Marcus pretended not to hear, but the words stung. He knew people talked, and he knew they pitied Tommy. What hurt the most was that he could see Tommy starting to notice the difference too. The boy would often ask why he didn't have a mommy like the other kids, and Marcus never knew what to say. After practice, as they walked to their old pickup truck, Tommy was unusually quiet. He climbed into his car seat without his usual chatter about the game or his teammates. "What's wrong, buddy?" Marcus asked, adjusting the rearview mirror to see his son's face. Tommy played with the hem of his soccer jersey, not looking up. "Billy's mom brought orange slices for everyone today. She always brings snacks." He paused, then added quietly, "I wish I had a mom who could bring orange slices." Marcus felt his chest tighten. He had been so focused on providing the basics, food, shelter, safety, that he hadn't thought about all the little things mothers seem to do naturally. The team snacks, the playdates, the way they knew exactly what to pack for school lunches or how to braid hair or which clothes matched. "I could bring orange slices next time," Marcus offered, trying to keep his voice steady. Tommy finally looked up at him in the mirror. "It's not the same, Daddy. You're not a mom." That evening, after Tommy had gone to bed, Marcus sat at his kitchen table surrounded by bills and work schedules. The house felt too quiet, filled with the absence of things he couldn't provide. He looked at a drawing Tommy had made at school that was stuck to the refrigerator with a magnet. It showed their family, 2 stick figures, one big and one small, standing in front of a house. No mother figure anywhere in the picture. Marcus had tried dating a few times since Sarah left, but it never worked out. Some women were scared off by the idea of instant motherhood, while others seemed more interested in Marcus than in getting to know Tommy. He had decided it was easier to focus on just the 2 of them, but moments like today made him question that choice. The next morning brought the usual routine. Marcus woke up at 5:30 to get ready for work, then woke Tommy at 6:30 to get him ready for school. Breakfast was usually cereal or toast, nothing fancy, and Tommy would pack his own backpack while Marcus made sure he had his lunch, money. "Mrs. Patterson is coming to school today to talk about her job," Tommy announced over his cereal. "She's Jimmy's mom and she's a doctor. All the kids' moms are coming to talk about their jobs." Marcus paused with his coffee cup halfway to his lips. "What about dads? Are any dads coming?" Tommy shook his head. "The teacher said it was for career day for moms. She said maybe they'll do a dad day later, but I don't think so." Another small exclusion that felt enormous to Marcus. Another reminder that their little family of two didn't quite fit into the traditional molds that schools and society seemed built around. As Marcus dropped Tommy off at school that morning, he watched the other parents. The mothers moved with a confidence he envied, knowing exactly which classroom to go to, hugging their children goodbye with practiced ease, chatting with teachers about things Marcus never even thought to ask about. "Have a good day, buddy," Marcus said, giving Tommy a quick hug. "You too, Daddy," Tommy replied, but Marcus could see the sadness in his son's eyes as he watched the other kids walk into school with their mothers. Driving to the construction site, Marcus made a decision. He couldn't keep pretending that he and Tommy didn't need more than just each other. Tommy needed stability, needed someone who could give him the kind of care and attention that Marcus, working long hours and learning as he went, simply couldn't provide alone. Maybe it was time to start seriously looking for someone who could be more than just a girlfriend, someone who could be the mother Tommy so desperately wanted and needed, someone who could make their incomplete family whole again. Marcus had no idea that the answer to his prayers was closer than he thought, or that when he found her, the truth about who she really was would change everything he believed about trust, love, and family. 3 weeks later, Marcus was running late picking up Tommy from after-school care when he first saw her. The community center was almost empty, most of the other children already collected by their parents. Tommy was sitting at a small table, with a woman Marcus had never seen before, both of them bent over what looked like a coloring book. She was probably in her early 30s, with shoulder-length brown hair and kind eyes that seemed to light up when she laughed at something Tommy said. She wore simple jeans and a soft blue sweater, nothing fancy, but there was something warm and genuine about her that Marcus noticed immediately. "Daddy," Tommy called out when he spotted Marcus in the doorway. "Come meet Miss Elena. She's been helping me with my drawing." The woman looked up and smiled, and Marcus felt something he hadn't experienced in a long time. Not just attraction, though she was certainly pretty, but a sense of rightness, as if this moment was supposed to happen. "Hi, I'm Elena Rodriguez," she said, standing up and extending her hand. Her handshake was firm and confident, but her fingers were soft and gentle. "Tommy's been telling me all about his soccer team." "Marcus," he replied, finding himself slightly tongue-tied. "Thanks for keeping him company. I got held up at work." Elena waved off his apology. "No problem at all. He's a wonderful kid. Very artistic." She gestured to the drawing on the table, which showed a detailed picture of a soccer field with players running around. "He's got real talent." Tommy beamed at the praise, and Marcus could see how much the attention meant to him. It had been so long since another adult had taken genuine interest in his son. "Are you new to the area?" Marcus asked, not wanting the conversation to end. "Actually, I just started working here," Elena explained. "I'm the new after-school coordinator. Today was my first day, and Tommy was kind enough to show me around and introduce me to some of the other kids." As they walked to the parking lot together, Tommy chattered excitedly between them, telling Elena about his school and his friends and asking her questions about herself. Marcus was amazed at how easily his usually shy son had opened up to this woman. "Do you have kids?" Tommy asked with the blunt curiosity of a 5-year-old. Elena's expression flickered for just a moment, something almost sad crossing her face, but she recovered quickly. "No, I don't. But I love working with children. That's why I took this job. Maybe you could come watch me play soccer sometime," Tommy suggested hopefully. "My dad comes to all my games, but it would be cool to have someone else there too." Marcus felt his cheeks warm with embarrassment. "Tommy, you can't just invite people to things like that," but Elena smiled warmly. "Actually, I'd love to watch you play. When's your next game?" Tommy's face lit up like Christmas morning. "Saturday at 10. We're playing the Blue Devils, and Coach says I might get to be goalie." "Then I'll be there," Elena promised, and Marcus could tell she meant it. That Saturday, Elena showed up at the soccer field with a folding chair and a small cooler. She had brought orange slices for the whole team, something Tommy had mentioned, wanting during their first conversation. When Tommy saw her on the sidelines, his whole face transformed with joy. "Miss Elena came," he shouted to Marcus, pointing excitedly. "She brought snacks for everyone." During the game, Elena cheered for Tommy louder than anyone else there. She knew all the other kids' names already and encouraged them all equally. Marcus found himself watching her as much as he watched the game, impressed by how naturally she fit in with the other parents. After the game, as they packed up their chairs, Tommy ran over to Elena and, without warning, threw his arms around her waist in a fierce hug. "Thank you for coming," he said, his voice muffled against her sweater. "It was the best game ever." Elena hugged him back, her eyes meeting Marcus's over Tommy's head. There was something in her expression that Marcus couldn't quite read, a mixture of joy and sadness that made him curious about her story. "Would you like to get ice cream with us?" Marcus found himself asking. "There's a place just down the street." Elena hesitated for a moment, and Marcus thought she might say no. But then Tommy looked up at her with those big, hopeful eyes that were impossible to resist. "I'd love to," she said. At the ice cream shop, Tommy insisted that Elena sit next to him in the booth. He peppered her with questions between licks of his chocolate cone. Where did she live? Did she like movies? Had she ever been to Disneyland? Elena answered each question patiently, sometimes asking Tommy questions in return that showed she was really listening to his answers. "Do you have a boyfriend?" Tommy asked suddenly, causing Marcus to nearly choke on his coffee. "Tommy," Marcus said sharply, "that's not appropriate to ask," but Elena just laughed. "It's okay, and no, I don't have a boyfriend. I'm too busy with work and other things." "Good," Tommy said matter-of-factly. "Then you can spend more time with us." Marcus felt mortified by his son's boldness, but Elena seemed charmed by it. As they left the ice cream shop, she knelt down to Tommy's level. "I had a really wonderful time today," she told him seriously. "Thank you for inviting me." "Will you come to my next game too?" Tommy asked hopefully. "If your dad says it's okay," Elena replied, looking up at Marcus. "Of course," Marcus said quickly. "You're welcome any time." Over the next few weeks, Elena became a regular fixture at Tommy's games and school events. She seemed to genuinely enjoy spending time with them, never acting like it was a burden or obligation. Tommy began talking about her constantly, telling Marcus about their conversations at after-school care and asking when they would see her again. Marcus found himself looking forward to their encounters just as much as Tommy did. Elena was easy to talk to, intelligent and funny, and she had a way of making even ordinary moments feel special. She remembered things Tommy told her, asked about Marcus's work, and seemed genuinely interested in their lives. But there were moments when Marcus noticed something guarded about Elena, times when she would deflect personal questions or change the subject when the conversation turned to her past. He told himself that everyone had a right to privacy, especially someone he was just getting to know. One evening, as Marcus tucked Tommy into bed, his son looked up at him with serious eyes. "Daddy, do you think Miss Elena likes us?" he asked. "I think she does, buddy." "Why?" Tommy was quiet for a moment, picking at his blanket. "Some of the kids at school have stepmoms. Do you think Miss Elena could be my stepmom someday?" Marcus's heart skipped a beat. The idea had been forming in his own mind, but hearing it from Tommy made it feel more real and more terrifying. "It's too early to think about things like that," Marcus said gently. "But I can tell she cares about you very much." "I hope she does. Become my stepmom," Tommy said sleepily. "I like her better than my real mom." The innocent words hit Marcus like a punch to the gut. Tommy barely remembered Sarah, but somehow he instinctively knew that Elena offered something his biological mother never had: unconditional love and genuine interest in his well-being. As Marcus turned off the bedroom light, he found himself hoping the same thing Tommy did. Elena felt like the missing piece of their family puzzle, the person who could give Tommy the maternal love he craved, and give Marcus the partnership he had given up hope of finding. He had no way of knowing that Elena's interest in them was more complicated than either of them realized, or that the truth about why she had come into their lives would soon turn their growing happiness into a nightmare none of them could have anticipated. 2 months into their friendship, Elena had become an integral part of Marcus and Tommy's daily life. She would often stay after Tommy's after-school program ended, helping him with homework, or just talking about his day. Marcus began timing his arrival to coincide with these moments, treasuring the domestic scene they created together. Elena had a natural way with Tommy that amazed Marcus. She knew when he needed encouragement and when he needed gentle correction. She remembered his favorite snacks and the names of all his stuffed animals. Most importantly, she never made promises she couldn't keep, something Marcus deeply appreciated after Sarah's abandonment. "Miss Elena taught me how to tie my shoes the fast way," Tommy announced proudly one evening as they drove home. "She said her little brother taught her when she was my age." Marcus glanced at his son in the rearview mirror. "She has a brother?" "Had," Tommy corrected solemnly. "She said he's in heaven now. That's why she knows how to take care of kids so good." This was the first personal detail Elena had shared about her family, and Marcus found himself curious about the loss that had shaped her. When he gently asked Elena about it the next day, her expression grew distant. "Miguel was 7 years younger than me," she said quietly. "I basically raised him after our parents divorced. He had leukemia. He died when he was 8. The pain in her voice was still fresh, even though Marcus sensed this had happened years ago. It explained so much about Elena's natural maternal instincts and her obvious comfort around children. "I'm sorry," Marcus said, meaning it deeply. "That must have been devastating." Elena nodded, wiping at her eyes. "He would have loved Tommy. They're about the same age Miguel was when—" She trailed off, unable to finish the sentence. Marcus reached out and squeezed her hand, feeling the connection between them deepen. They both understood loss in different ways. Both knew what it meant to love someone and lose them. As autumn turned to winter, Elena began joining them for more activities outside of school events. She came to Tommy's birthday party, bringing a homemade cake and a gift that showed she had been paying attention to everything Tommy had ever told her about his interests. She helped them pick out a Christmas tree and stayed to help decorate it, laughing as Tommy insisted on putting all his favorite ornaments on the same branch. "This is the best Christmas tree ever," Tommy declared, stepping back to admire their handiwork. "Don't you think so, Mom?" The word slipped out so naturally that for a moment nobody noticed. Elena froze, her hand still reaching for an ornament, while Marcus felt his heart skip a beat. Tommy continued arranging decorations, completely unaware of what he had said. Elena looked at Marcus with wide, uncertain eyes. He could see the conflict there, the joy at being called Mom warring with the worry that she was overstepping boundaries. "It's okay," Marcus mouthed silently, and Elena's shoulders relaxed slightly. Later that evening, after Tommy had gone to bed, Marcus and Elena sat on the couch looking at the twinkling Christmas tree. "I should probably talk to him about what he called me tonight," Elena said quietly. "I don't want him to get confused about our relationship." Marcus turned to face her, his heart pounding. What if he wasn't confused? What if that's exactly what this relationship is becoming? Elena's eyes widened. "Marcus, I'm falling in love with you," he said simply. "And I think Tommy already loves you like a mother. We both do." Elena was quiet for so long that Marcus began to worry he had misread everything, but then she reached for his hand. "I love you both too," she whispered. "More than I ever thought possible. But Marcus, there are things about me, about my past, that you don't know." "Then tell me," Marcus said. "Whatever it is, we can work through it together." Elena looked away, her jaw tightening with what looked like internal struggle. "It's complicated. I need more time." Marcus wanted to press her, but something in her expression warned him off. Instead, he pulled her closer, and they sat in comfortable silence watching the Christmas lights blink. Over the next few weeks, Elena seemed different. She was still loving and attentive to Tommy, still warm and caring toward Marcus. But there was an undercurrent of tension that hadn't been there before. She would sometimes seem lost in thought, and Marcus occasionally caught her staring at Tommy with an expression he couldn't interpret. Tommy, meanwhile, had completely embraced calling Elena Mom, despite Marcus's gentle attempts to discuss it with him. To Tommy, it was simple. Elena acted like a mom, loved him like a mom, and was there for him like a mom. In his 5-year-old mind, that made her his mom. Can Mom come to the father-son breakfast at school? Tommy asked one morning. Over cereal. I know it says father-son, but you could both come, right? Marcus exchanged glances with Elena, who was helping Tommy pack his lunch. They had fallen into such a natural domestic routine that moments like this felt inevitable. I think that's supposed to be just for dads and their kids, Marcus explained gently. Tommy's face fell. But Jimmy's stepdad is coming with his real dad. And Sarah's mom is coming because her dad lives far away. I want Mom to come too. Elena knelt down beside Tommy's chair. How about I make you a special lunch that day instead? Something really good that you can tell me all about when you get home. Tommy brightened slightly, but Marcus could see the disappointment in his eyes. These moments of exclusion were becoming more frequent as Tommy's attachment to Elena grew stronger. The boy wanted her to be officially part of their family, not just someone who acted like family. That weekend, Marcus took Tommy to the hardware store while Elena stayed home to catch up on work. As they walked through the aisles looking for supplies to fix a leaky faucet, Tommy chattered about his week at school. Mom helped me with my math homework yesterday, Tommy said, picking up a wrench that was too big for his small hands. She's really smart, way smarter than my other mom. Marcus stopped walking. Tommy, what do you remember about your other mom? Tommy shrugged, still examining the wrench. Not much. She had yellow hair and she was always sad. She didn't like to play games or read stories. Mom likes to do all those things. The casual comparison broke Marcus's heart. Tommy was replacing his earliest memories of Sarah with memories of Elena, and Marcus wasn't sure if that was healthy or concerning. Elena isn't really your mom, you know, Marcus said carefully. She's someone very special who cares about us, but she's not your biological mother. Tommy looked up at him with the matter-of-fact wisdom that children sometimes possess. I know that, Daddy, but she's my real mom. The other one was just the mom who had me. Mom is the one who loves me. The simple truth of it stunned Marcus. Tommy had instinctively understood something that many adults struggled with, that love and presence mattered more than biology. That evening, after Tommy was asleep, Marcus found Elena sitting on the front porch despite the cold weather. She was staring out at the quiet street wrapped in one of his old jackets. You okay? He asked, settling beside her on the porch swing. Elena was quiet for a long moment. Tommy called me Mom 17 times today, she said finally. I counted. Marcus smiled. He's claimed you completely. I hope that's okay. It's more than okay, Elena said, but her voice was strained. That's the problem. What do you mean? Elena turned to look at him, her eyes bright with unshed tears. I mean that I love that little boy so much it scares me. I love you both so much that I can't imagine my life without you. And that terrifies me because... She stopped, shaking her head as if she had said too much. Because what? Marcus pressed. Gently, Elena stood up abruptly, pulling his jacket tighter around her. Because I don't deserve this happiness. I don't deserve to be Tommy's mom or your partner. And someday when you find out the truth about who I really am, you're going to understand why. Before Marcus could respond, she had gone inside, leaving, him alone on the porch with more questions than answers, and a growing sense that the woman he loved was hiding something that could destroy the family they were building together. Spring arrived with a warmth that seemed to thaw some of Elena's mysterious tension. She had been more relaxed over the past few weeks, laughing more easily, and seeming less burdened by whatever secrets she carried. Marcus had decided to stop, pushing for answers, hoping that given enough time and trust, Elena would open up on her own terms. Tommy had started calling Elena Mom so consistently that even the teachers at school had begun referring to her as Tommy's mother. Elena never corrected them, and Marcus noticed how her face would light up each time someone acknowledged her maternal role in Tommy's life. I want to ask you something important, Marcus said one evening after they had put Tommy to bed. They were sitting in the kitchen, Elena grading some papers from her work while Marcus paid bills. Elena looked up, her expression immediately alert. What is it? Marcus reached across the table and took her hand. Move in with us. The words hung in, The air between them. Elena's papers scattered slightly as she pulled her hand back, her face cycling through surprise, joy, and then something that looked almost like panic. Marcus, Before you say anything, just listen, Marcus said quickly. Tommy asks me every day when you're going to live here permanently. This morning he asked me if we could turn the spare room into your room. He's already thinking of you as family, Elena. We both are. Elena's eyes filled with tears, but Marcus couldn't tell if they were happy tears or not. You don't know what you're asking, she whispered. I'm asking the woman I love to build a life with me and my son, Marcus said simply. The woman who has already become the best mother Tommy could ever hope for. I'm asking you to make official what already feels real to all of us. Elena stood up abruptly, pacing to the window and staring out at the backyard where Tommy's toys were scattered across the grass. There are things about me that you don't know, she said, her voice barely audible. Things that would change how you feel about me. Marcus stood up and moved behind her, placing his hands gently on her shoulders. Then tell me, whatever it is, we can handle it together. Elena leaned back against him and he could feel the tension in her body. I can't. Not yet. Maybe not ever. Is it about your family? Your past relationships? Are you in some kind of trouble? It's about Tommy, Elena said so quietly that Marcus almost didn't hear her. Marcus felt his stomach drop. What about Tommy? Elena turned in his arms, her face streaked with tears. I need more time. Please just give me a little more time to figure out how to tell you. Against his better judgment, Marcus nodded. The fear in Elena's eyes was real, and whatever she was hiding was clearly causing her tremendous pain. He decided to trust that the woman who loved his son so completely couldn't be hiding anything that would truly hurt them. 2 weeks later, Marcus got a call at work that changed everything. It was Tommy's school secretary, Mrs. Patterson, and her voice was strained with an emotion Marcus couldn't identify. Mr. Williams, I need you to come to the school immediately, she said. There's been an incident involving Tommy. Marcus's heart stopped. Is he hurt? What happened? He's physically fine, Mrs. Patterson assured him quickly. But there's a situation that requires your immediate attention. Please come as soon as you can. Marcus left the construction site without explanation and drove to the school with his mind racing through every possible scenario. When he arrived, he was directed to the principal's office where he found Tommy sitting in a chair beside the principal's desk, his face red and tear-stained. Daddy, Tommy cried when he saw Marcus jumping up to run into his arms. What happened, buddy? Marcus asked, holding his son tightly. Principal Martinez, a usually cheerful woman Marcus had met at several school events, looked deeply uncomfortable. Mr. Williams, perhaps we should speak privately first. No, Marcus said firmly. Whatever this is about concerns Tommy, so he should hear it. Principal Martinez glanced at Tommy, then back at Marcus. A woman came to the school today claiming to be Tommy's biological mother. She had documentation that appeared legitimate and she was demanding to see him. Marcus felt the world tilt sideways. What woman? She said her name was Sarah Williams. She had Tommy's birth certificate and other legal documents that supported her claim. Sarah. Marcus hadn't heard that name spoken aloud in over 2 years. The woman who had abandoned them, who had walked out of their lives without a backward glance, had suddenly reappeared. Where is she now? Marcus asked, his voice tight with controlled anger. We didn't allow her to see Tommy, of course, Principal Martinez said quickly. Our policy requires notification of the custodial parent first. But Mr. Williams, she seemed very determined. She said she was going to pursue legal custody. Marcus felt Tommy trembling in his arms. I don't want to see her, Tommy whispered. I want Mom. Where's Mom? Elena is on her way, Principal Martinez said gently. Tommy asked for her when he got upset, so Mrs. Patterson called her too. As if summoned by their conversation, Elena appeared in the doorway of the office. Her face was pale and her eyes were wide with what looked like terror. Are you okay, sweetheart? She asked Tommy, rushing to them and kneeling down to his level. Mom, They said my other mom came to school, Tommy said, clinging to Elena. But I don't want her. I want you to be my only mom. Elena's eyes met Marcus's over Tommy's head, and Marcus saw something there that made his blood run cold. It wasn't just sympathy or concern. It was guilt. Elena, Marcus said slowly, did you know about this? Elena stood up shakily, her face cycling through emotions Marcus had never seen before. Marcus, I can explain. Explain what? Marcus's voice was rising despite his efforts to stay calm for Tommy's sake. Elena looked around the office, suddenly aware that they had an audience. Not here. Please, can we go home and talk privately? Principal Martinez cleared her throat. Perhaps that would be best. Tommy, you can go home with your father now. But Mr. Williams, I think you should be prepared for the possibility that this woman will try other approaches. The drive home was silent except for Tommy's occasional sniffles from the back seat. Elena followed them in her own car, and Marcus watched her in his rearview mirror, trying to understand the fear he saw in her posture. At home, Marcus sent Tommy to his room to play while he and Elena sat at the kitchen table. The same table, where just weeks ago, Marcus had asked Elena to move in with them. Start talking, Marcus said, his voice colder than he had ever used with her. Elena's hands were shaking as she clasped them in her lap. The day I met you at the community center wasn't an accident. Marcus felt his chest tighten. What do you mean? I mean, I knew who Tommy was before I ever spoke to him. I knew who you were. I took the job at the after-school program specifically to get close to your family. The words hit Marcus like physical blows. Why? Elena's face crumpled with grief and guilt. Because Sarah is my sister. The kitchen fell into absolute silence. Marcus stared at Elena, trying to process what she had just said, trying to reconcile the woman he loved with this revelation that shattered everything he believed about their relationship. Your sister, he repeated numbly. My half-sister, Elena clarified as if that made any difference. We have the same father but different mothers. We weren't raised together, but we stayed in touch occasionally over the years. Marcus stood, up abruptly, his chair scraping against the floor. So everything between us, everything with Tommy, it was all a lie? No. Elena stood up too, reaching for him. Marcus, please let me explain. It started as... She took a shaky breath. Sarah asked me to check on you both. She was having second thoughts about leaving, and she wanted to know how Tommy was doing, if you were managing okay. So she sent you to spy on us. At first, yes, Elena admitted, her voice breaking. But Marcus, I swear to you, everything that happened after that first day was real. My feelings for you, my love for Tommy, all of it is completely genuine. Marcus backed away from her, his mind reeling. How long have you been reporting back to her? I stopped after the first month, Elena said desperately. I told Sarah that you and Tommy were fine, that she should leave you alone. I never told her about us, about our relationship. She doesn't know that Tommy calls me Mom or that we're together. But she found out somehow, Marcus said, the pieces clicking together. That's why she showed up at the school today. Elena nodded miserably. She's been calling me for weeks, asking more questions, wanting details. I kept refusing to tell her anything, but I think she suspected something was wrong. Maybe she hired someone to watch us. Or maybe someone she knows saw us together. Marcus felt betrayed in a way he hadn't experienced since Sarah first left them. The woman he had trusted with his heart and his son's well-being had been deceiving him from the very beginning. You need to leave, he said quietly. Marcus, please. You need to leave now, Marcus repeated, his voice stronger. Tommy is upstairs, asking for his mom, and I have to figure out how to tell him that the woman he loves was never really here for him at all. Elena's face went white. That's not true. I love Tommy more than anything in this world. You love him so much that you spent months lying to him about who you are and why you're in his life. Elena opened her mouth to respond, but no words came. Finally, she grabbed her purse and headed for the door, pausing only to look back at Marcus with tears streaming down her face. I know you don't believe me right now, she said. But everything I feel for you and Tommy is real. I would do anything to protect him, including walking away if that's what's best for him." After she left, Marcus sat alone in his kitchen, surrounded by the remnants of the life they had been building together. Upstairs, he could hear Tommy calling for his mom, unaware that the woman he trusted most in the world had just walked out of his life, possibly forever. The next morning brought a knock at the door that Marcus had been dreading. Through the peephole, he saw a woman he barely recognized as the person who had once shared his bed and borne his child. Sarah looked older, thinner, with the kind of sharp edges that came from years of hard living. Her blonde hair was shorter now and darker at the roots, and she wore clothes that seemed too young for her. Tommy was eating breakfast at the kitchen table, still asking intermittently where Elena was and when she was coming back. Marcus had spent most of the night trying to figure out how to explain Elena's sudden absence without destroying Tommy's already fragile understanding of maternal love. "Stay in the kitchen," Marcus told Tommy quietly. "Don't come out here unless I call. You okay?" Tommy nodded, though Marcus could see the confusion and worry in his son's eyes. The boy had already lost one mother figure in his short life, and Marcus wasn't sure he could survive losing another. Marcus opened the door but didn't invite Sarah inside. She looked past him into the house as if she owned the place, her eyes searching for something or someone. "Hello, Marcus," Sarah said, her voice carrying a false brightness that grated against his nerves. "You look good. Fatherhood suits you." "What do you want, Sarah?" She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. "I want to see my son. I want to be part of his life again." "You gave up that right when you walked out on him," Marcus said flatly. "You don't get to disappear for 2 years and then show up demanding anything." Sarah's facade cracked slightly. "I made mistakes, I know that. But I've changed, Marcus. I've gotten my life together, and I'm ready to be Tommy's mother now." "Tommy already has a mother," Marcus said before he could stop himself. Sarah's eyes narrowed. "Yes, I've heard about your little girlfriend, Elena Rodriguez, right? Did you know she's been lying to you this whole time?" Marcus felt his jaw clench. "I know who she is." "Do you?" Sarah stepped closer, lowering her voice. "Do you know that I asked her to spy on you? That everything about your relationship started as a deception?" "Elena told me everything yesterday." Sarah looked genuinely surprised. "She told you? Interesting. I wonder what else she told you." "What's that supposed to mean?" Sarah glanced around, then leaned against the doorframe as if settling in for a long conversation. "It means there's more to this story than Elena probably shared. Like the fact that she's been sending me detailed reports about Tommy for months. His schedule, his school, his friends, his routines. Everything I would need to know if I decided to take him." Marcus felt ice form in his stomach. "You're lying." "Am I?" "Elena is my sister, Marcus. Half-sister technically, but we've always looked out for each other. When I asked her to keep an eye on Tommy, she agreed because she knew I was thinking about coming back. Elena stopped reporting to you months ago." Sarah laughed, but there was no humor in it. "Is that what she told you?" "Marcus, I got a text from her last week with pictures of Tommy at his soccer game. She's been updating me regularly on his progress, his attachment to her, how much he's forgotten about me." Marcus stared at Sarah, trying to determine if she was telling the truth. The woman who had abandoned them was a pathological liar, but the details she knew suggested that Elena had indeed been in contact with her more recently than she had admitted. "I don't believe you," Marcus said, though his voice lacked conviction. Sarah pulled out her phone and scrolled through her messages. "Here, look at this." She showed him the screen, which displayed a photo of Tommy hugging Elena after his last soccer game. The timestamp showed it was taken just 5 days ago. Marcus felt the world shift beneath his feet. He recognized the photo because he had taken it himself, but he had never sent it to anyone. The only way Sarah could have it was if Elena had sent it to her. "She's been playing both sides," Sarah continued, putting her phone away. "Keeping me informed while making you and Tommy fall in love with her. Pretty smart, actually. She gets to be the hero mother figure while ensuring I stay updated on my son's life." "Why would she do that?" Because Elena has always been the good sister, Sarah said with bitter emphasis. She's always tried to fix everyone else's problems, even when it means manipulating the people she claims to love. She probably thought she could manage both relationships, keep everyone happy. Marcus's mind raced back over the past few months, re-examining moments with Elena through this new lens. Her mysterious phone calls that she would end abruptly when he entered the room. The times he had caught her taking photos of Tommy when she thought no one was looking. Her reluctance to commit to moving in with them, her cryptic comments about not deserving happiness. Even if that's true, Marcus said slowly, it doesn't change the fact that you abandoned Tommy. You signed away your parental rights. Actually, I didn't, Sarah said with a triumphant smile. I left, but I never legally terminated my rights. And now I'm back, ready to reclaim my son. The kitchen door swung open and Tommy appeared in the hallway. His face was pale and his eyes were wide as he looked between Marcus and the stranger at the door. Daddy, who is that lady? Tommy asked quietly. Sarah's expression softened as she saw her biological son for the first time in 2 years. Hello, Tommy. I'm your mother. Your real mother. Tommy stepped closer to Marcus, pressing against his leg. No, you're not. My mom is Elena. You're the lady who went away. Sarah knelt down, trying to bring herself to Tommy's eye level. I know I went away, sweetheart, but I'm back now. I've missed you so much. I don't want you here, Tommy said with the brutal honesty of a child. I want my real mom. Where is she? Marcus saw pain flash across Sarah's face, but she recovered quickly. Your real mom is the one who gave birth to you, Tommy. Elena is just someone who's been taking care of you while I was away. Tommy looked up at Marcus with confusion and hurt. Is that true, Daddy? Is Elena just pretending to be my mom? The question hit Marcus like a physical blow. In Tommy's mind, the revelation about Elena's deception was being twisted into something even more devastating. The possibility that the love he had felt from her wasn't real. It's complicated, buddy, Marcus said carefully, but Elena loves you very much. That part was never pretending. Then where is she? Tommy demanded, his voice rising with distress. Why isn't she here? Sarah stood up, her expression hardening. She's not here because she was never supposed to be your permanent mother, Tommy. She was just helping out until I could come back. I don't want you back, Tommy shouted, surprising everyone with his vehemence. I want Elena. She reads me stories and helps with my homework and comes to my games. You never did any of those things. Sarah's composure cracked completely. I was sick, Tommy. I wasn't ready to be a good mother then, but I am now. You're lying, Tommy yelled. Elena is my mom. She's my real mom. Marcus scooped Tommy up as the boy began to cry, holding him close while glaring at Sarah over his son's head. You need to leave, Marcus said firmly. You're upsetting him. I'm not going anywhere without my son, Sarah replied, her voice turning cold. I've already filed papers with the court. Tommy is my biological child, and I have rights. You gave up those rights when you walked away, but I never legally terminated them, Sarah repeated. And now I have evidence that you've been allowing another woman to act as Tommy's mother without proper legal authority. The courts don't look kindly on that kind of parental alienation. Marcus felt trapped. Sarah was right that she had never formally given up her parental rights, and if she could prove that Elena had been acting as Tommy's de facto mother with Marcus's encouragement, it might actually work in her favor legally. What do you want? Marcus asked, dreading the answer. Sarah's smile returned, but it was sharp and calculating. I want joint custody. Tommy will live with me half the time, with you the other half. And I want Elena completely out of the picture. If I find out she's still in contact with Tommy, I'll file for full custody and argue that you're an unfit parent who allows random women to replace his biological mother. Tommy was sobbing against Marcus's shoulder, occasionally hiccuping Elena's name between tears. The sound broke Marcus's heart and strengthened his resolve. I'll fight you, Marcus said quietly. I'll fight you with everything I have. You'll lose, Sarah replied confidently. I'm his biological mother, I've cleaned up my life, and I have documentation proving that your girlfriend has been manipulating this situation from the beginning. No judge is going to side with a construction worker and his lying girlfriend over a child's mother who wants to make amends." As Sarah walked away, Marcus held Tommy tighter and tried to figure out how their perfect little family had disintegrated so completely in less than 24 hours. The woman he loved had betrayed his trust. The woman who had abandoned them was threatening to tear Tommy away from the only stable life he had ever known, and Marcus was caught in the middle, unsure who to believe or trust. The only thing he knew for certain was that Tommy needed Elena, regardless of her deceptions. The boy was falling apart without her, and Marcus wasn't sure either of them could survive losing her permanently, even if her presence in their 3 days passed in a blur of legal consultations and sleepless nights. Tommy had barely eaten since Sarah's visit, asking constantly for Elena and becoming more withdrawn with each hour that passed. Marcus had tried calling Elena multiple times, but her phone went straight to voicemail. He had driven by her apartment, but the landlord said she had moved out suddenly, leaving no forwarding address. Marcus was sitting in his lawyer's office, trying to understand the reality of his legal situation, when his phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. The message was simple: "Meet me at Riverside Park, playground area, come alone. Elena." Against his lawyer's advice, Marcus left Tommy with his neighbor and drove to the park. He found Elena sitting on a bench near the swings where Tommy loved to play, looking smaller and more fragile than he had ever seen her. Her eyes were red-rimmed from crying, and she had dark circles that suggested she hadn't been sleeping either. "You look terrible," Marcus said, sitting down beside her but maintaining distance. "I feel terrible," Elena replied quietly. "How is Tommy?" "Heartbroken. He doesn't understand why his mom disappeared." Elena flinched at the word mom. "I'm sorry. I never meant for it to go this far." Marcus studied her profile, trying to reconcile the woman he had fallen in love with and the deceiver Sarah had described. "I need to know the truth, Elena. All of it. Not the version you think I can handle, but everything." Elena nodded slowly, as if she had been expecting this conversation. "Sarah called me 8 months ago. She said she had been clean for 6 months and was thinking about trying to reconnect with Tommy. She asked me to check on him, to see how he was doing without telling you who I was." "So you took the job at the community center?" "Yes. My plan was to observe Tommy for a few weeks, report back that he was happy and healthy, and then leave. I thought it would be simple." Marcus waited, sensing there was more. "But then I met him," Elena continued, her voice breaking slightly. "And he was so sweet, so hungry for maternal attention. He reminded me so much of Miguel, my little brother. I couldn't just walk away." "So you decided to stay and spy on us instead?" Elena shook her head. "I decided to stay and protect him. Because the more time I spent with Tommy, the more I realized that Sarah coming back would destroy him. He was finally stable, finally happy. The last thing he needed was his abandoning mother returning to disrupt his life again." Marcus felt a flicker of hope. Maybe Elena's motives hadn't been purely selfish after all. "I stopped giving Sarah detailed reports after the first month," Elena continued. "I would text her occasionally to say that you were both fine, but I didn't tell her about our relationship or about Tommy calling me mom. But Sarah showed me a photo from last week. A photo I took of you and Tommy." Elena's face crumpled with guilt. "She threatened to show up at Tommy's school if I didn't send her recent pictures. I thought if I sent her one photo, it would satisfy her curiosity and buy me more time to figure out what to do." "More time to figure out what to do about what?" Elena looked directly at Marcus for the first time since he had sat down. "More time to figure out how to tell you the truth, without losing the 2 people I love most in the world." Marcus felt his anger warring with his lingering love for her. "But you never told me. Even when I asked you to move in with us, you chose to keep lying." "Because I knew that once you learned the truth you would never trust me again," Elena said simply. "And I knew that losing your trust would mean losing Tommy too. I was selfish, Marcus. I wanted to be his mother so badly that I convinced myself the lie was protecting him." They sat in silence for several minutes, watching other families play, on the playground equipment. Marcus thought about all the moments they had shared, trying to determine which ones had been genuine and which ones had been performance. "Sarah is demanding joint custody," Marcus said finally. "She says she has evidence that you've been manipulating the situation, and she's using it to argue that I'm an unfit parent." Elena straightened up, her expression shifting from guilt to something fiercer. "She can't have him. She's his biological mother. She has rights. She gave up those rights when she abandoned a 3-year-old, Elena said with more passion than Marcus had heard from her in days. "Biology doesn't make someone a parent, Marcus. Love does. Consistency does. Being there for scraped knees and nightmares and soccer games does." Marcus found himself nodding despite his lingering hurt. "The lawyer says our chances aren't good, especially now that Sarah can prove you've been deceiving us." Elena was quiet for a long moment, staring at her hands. "What if she couldn't prove that? What do you mean?" Elena looked at him with an expression Marcus couldn't quite read. "What if I testified that Sarah coerced me into spying on you? That she threatened to cause problems for Tommy if I didn't cooperate? What if I told the court that I tried to protect Tommy by refusing to give Sarah the information she wanted?" Marcus stared at her. "Is that what happened?" "Some of it," Elena said honestly. "Sarah did threaten to show up at Tommy's school when I stopped cooperating, and I did refuse to give her detailed information about your routines or Tommy's vulnerabilities. But Marcus, I also made the choice to deceive you, and I can't pretend otherwise." Marcus weighed his options. He could continue to punish Elena for her deception and face the custody battle alone, likely losing Tommy to a woman who had already proven herself an unfit mother. Or he could find a way to forgive Elena and present a united front against Sarah, giving Tommy the best chance of staying in the stable home he had known. "Why should I trust you now?" Marcus asked. Elena turned to face him fully, her eyes bright with tears but her voice steady. "Because I'm willing to tell the court everything, the good and the bad. I'll testify about Sarah's threats, but I'll also admit to my own poor choices. I'll let them decide if my love for Tommy and my desire to protect him from his abandoning mother outweigh my decision to lie to you." Marcus considered this. It was a risky strategy, but it might be their only chance. "There's something else," Elena continued. "Something I discovered when I was trying to figure out how to fix this mess." "What?" "Sarah isn't as clean as she claims to be. I hired a private investigator to look into her life over the past 2 years. She's been in and out of rehab multiple times, she's been arrested twice for drug possession, and she's currently living with a boyfriend who has a criminal record." Marcus felt a surge of hope. "That could change everything." Elena nodded. "It could. But Marcus, I need you to know that even if this helps us keep Tommy, I don't expect you to forgive me. I don't expect us to go back to the way things were. I just want Tommy to be safe and happy, even if that means I can't be part of his life anymore." The pain in Elena's voice was genuine, and Marcus realized that despite everything, he still loved her. More importantly, he realized that Tommy needed her, regardless of how their relationship had begun. "Tommy has been asking for you constantly," Marcus said quietly. "He doesn't understand why you disappeared. In his mind, you're his mom, and moms don't just leave." Elena's tears finally spilled over. "I would never choose to leave him. Never. But I thought staying would make things worse. For both of you." Marcus reached over and took her hand, surprised by how right it felt despite everything that had happened. "Maybe it's time we stop making decisions based on fear and start making them based on what's best for Tommy." Elena squeezed his hand, gratefully. "What does that mean?" Marcus took a deep breath, knowing he was about to make a decision that would either save their family or destroy it completely. "It means we fight for him together. It means we tell the court the truth about everything, including the fact that you've been the best mother Tommy has ever had, regardless of how you came into our lives." Elena's face crumpled with relief and gratitude. "Are you sure? After everything I've put you through?" Marcus thought about Tommy's face when he talked about Elena, about the way his son had flourished under her care, about the family they had built together despite its unconventional beginning. "I'm sure about Tommy," Marcus said. "The rest we'll figure out as we go." 3 weeks later, they sat in family court with Tommy between them, waiting for the judge's decision. Sarah's lawyer had painted Elena as a manipulative woman who had inserted herself into their family under false pretenses. But Elena's testimony about Sarah's threats and abandonment, combined with the private investigator's evidence about Sarah's continued instability, had clearly impacted the judge. When the judge awarded primary custody to Marcus, with Elena recognized as Tommy's psychological parent and Sarah granted only supervised visitation, Tommy looked up at Elena with shining eyes. "Does this mean you're really my mom now?" he whispered. Elena looked at Marcus, who nodded his permission before pulling Tommy into her arms. "I've been your mom all along, sweetheart," she said softly. "I just had to make it official." As they walked out of the courthouse together, Marcus realized that while their family hadn't begun in the traditional way, it had become something real and strong through the trials they had faced together. Sometimes the best families weren't the ones that came naturally, but the ones that people chose to fight for, regardless of how they started.